going on, y'all? We're going to kick this off. We're just going to let one more minute roll by. Thank you for everybody who joined the chat. Let's see some tankers out there. I got Philly already in the chat. What is going on? And James, I saw it earlier. Let's just let one more minute go by for all those YouTube notifications. See those emotes. Alright, we are going to turn that down so you know what that is about to mean. About halfway. We'll see what halfway does. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Frank, KG5AHJ, and welcome to Take Radio. I have the coffee and ham radio guys in the back room. We're going to be talking about them, about their new antenna, and it's fun, and I built it, and I put it to the test this weekend, and we're going to be talking all about it. But you know what time it is? To find that right transition, where it is. Long intro. There it is. Play that awesome intro video. A quick shout out to all my Patreons who makes the show possible. You can support me by joining Patreon in the link below. And on to Take Radio. Oh, what is going on, y'all? I turned it back up, but I'm not going to be yelling that much anymore. But thank y'all for joining. We got an awesome hour lined up. And after this, we're going to be rolling over to, well, I'm going to be rolling over to Jason's stream. I don't know what we're talking about. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen a link for it yet. But they're talking to me in the back room. I'm better at ignoring them. But they're fine. They're fine. Let me go through my rundowns here real fast. Buy Me a Beer is still active. The links are in the description below.
Video sucks, Frank.
But there's also Gigaparts.
Frank, you have things on the shelf behind you that you really don't want the public to see.
Off. They can hear you now.
Right over your left shoulder.
Frank, that's
Good.
awful.
You should take that thing over your left shoulder down.
And you get 5% off. That also supports the channel. My coins are still on sale over on Jason's
We're gonna break
website.
Frank.
And my audio podcast is once a week release on Thursday mornings for that great prime time drive into the...
Ladies and gentlemen, we are...
They're getting me.
Tim, I can't believe you got a haircut for this, man.
But
the haircut was because the old lady yelled at me.
I lost it. They're hilarious there. What is going on, y'all? What is up? We have
doing good.
Jim,
trying to break you.
Chuck, and the Smoking Ape, and later we might find out
Smoking
Ape's real name, right? That's what what Twitter promised me tonight, right?
Gene Takovic.
Yep.
Did Twitter promise
We're supposed to hold out.
That's Twitter. Twitter promised that.
I thought it was now called X, but what do I know?
You can't see me? My mic was live, Frank, that whole time. I was talking about that thing on the shelf over your left shoulder.
Yeah, your left shoulder, my left shoulder?
Your left shoulder.
Like,
I mean,
all
you use
QSO
lube
cards?
with that thing or what?
The Viking helmet?
Just taking it a little far.
It's all right, man. We're all fun. We're having good shows lined up tonight. I recently bought. Let me see if I can go to this camera. Yeah, there we go. Transition. Here is the bag of all my antennas.
Hopefully that's ham stuff in that bag.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you vetted that bag before you start dumping it out,
that's a tiny bag, man.
It's all my antennas I have.
Is that what you
That's all you have?
Well,
Evan,
these are
who
the
are
ones I
you?
take to the park.
I take like 30 to the park. Come on, dude, catch up.
I'm not in.
3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none, son. I mean,
You only need one if you keep.
Well,
the
I
car
built
antenna.
one of the right
Right.
ones, right? So I just built the Coffee and Ham Radio Aries 9-to-1 random wire
Aries.
antenna. Aries?
I
An
want to see
A.
that toroid up close, son. I'm going to judge your toroid.
He didn't do too bad.
He
That
did
looks
better than Jim does.
He did way better than Jim does. Yes.
Look at that. Look at it. I
I told him
wrapped
it was
it
better than
nicely.
somebody else's, but he swore he wouldn't tell him, so I won't say it either.
I'm not saying it either. But
I mean, Chuck wrapped my 9-to-1 for me. He took pity on me and sent it to me with
well,
the
there's
kit.
no other fancy stuff. It's just the toroid. Everything else is just the wire.
What's that blue wire? Where's that one blue wire going?
This
Kind of in
one?
the middle there. The one on mine. Yeah.
This
oh,
blue
right
wire
there, right there.
goes to the grounding to the BNC and also the counterpoise.
Oh, not the one that's outside. Never mind.
And then
You get-
we can unwind it, like if y'all really want. I thought about doing this before the stream. Here, let's just transition because that's not a fun shot. TC Fitz, man, what is going on? Happy Sunday on the day off.
TC Fitz.
Awesome, man. Keep it up. Go
TC,
to a
you're-
park.
Are you going to be at Pacificon?
Thank you. I really
be
do
there.
appreciate it, man. Pacificon, that's coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then
Is he unwinding it?
Whatever. Roses.
now, I built this. The video of me building it did post already, which would have been a good link to have in the description, but I forgot.
Frank, you need a Frank.
What did y'all think of it?
Of what?
I thought it was
What?
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, the build video.
Yeah, I didn't
no,
do
you
a-
did good, son.
half bad. Steve, I like your comment. Sounds great at 2.5 speed.
It does. I watch everything at 2.5.
He
man.
does everybody that
he
way.
does.
Don't
That's
take
that's
any
not
offense.
just you, Frank.
Oh, I'm gonna
right.
take offense. It was hilarious. I loved it.
I started doing that too sometimes.
Is all gonna be
Yeah, I do it
tangled.
myself.
So here is the better shot now of my work. So you were talking about this blue wire. It goes off
No,
to the.
I was talking about
oh.
the one that goes in the middle there for
Oh.
some reason. It looks like it's kind of a
No,
stray.
that's a black one, which I tried to put the heat sink on, but I couldn't get around my crappy soldering job.
We're not going to judge your soldering job, but we will judge your toroid wrap.
Okay, yeah. And then we don't look at this burnt part. That didn't happen.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, Frank. You got to have a steady hand, son. You
Oh, I had
Yeah,
a
those-
steady
that
hand.
whiskey.
I was
You
leaning
should-
against the 3D print of the frame to help it hold
So
it
you-
steady.
You couldn't
These are
even stand
not
up straight.
3D
You'd been drinking so
printed.
much when you were building that antenna.
Say that again.
You couldn't even stand up straight. You were drinking so much.
Oh no, I was clean and sober.
He
On
was?
this one.
You know, an antenna when we're drunk.
Can I suggest one thing, Frank?
Please.
Take the red wire that goes back to the where the wire is
Okay.
to your bolt.
All right.
Take
This
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the wrong one because I'm looking at delayed. Yes, if you take that and just loosen it up a little bit and turn your wire more towards the middle to tighten up your the outside so it doesn't hang out so much.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't
I'm
want it
just
to get.
I'm
You don't want to get
I'm just
snagged.
paranoid that way, you know.
Or
Does that make sense?
Tuck it underneath the toroid.
You know, when he shrink wraps that thing.
But
Yeah, he likes to tuck it in. So
Just
No,
tuck
that's
it,
a
Frank. Just tuck it. That's
Walter
right.
White
but
here.
if you move that connector more towards the middle, the back of it,
Mm-hmm.
it'll suck that thing right in for you.
Oh, okay. I'll give that a shot after the stream because I don't have any of the
you
wrenches
don't
and
need
stuff
to.
to do that.
You
I
don't need
just
to.
have
wanna
my
see it
point and
live.
stick.
You did good on the ground side there. I
Oh,
like that.
thank you.
The wire through the thing and all the way to the next piece.
Yeah.
Good job.
Now, if you did watch my build video, I did build the antenna, and then I soldered on the connecting ends to the antenna wire before cutting them. I'm pointing again. The antenna wires before cutting them, so I had two D-ring or ring connectors on each end. So when I took it to the
Mhm.
park, I just had to cut it at the right spot. I didn't have to do any soldering out in the field. That being said, you have to pull 41 feet of a cord through this hole, and then do it
Oh.
again through that hole.
That's not much fun.
Only if you do
I
it
usually, I
backwards.
usually do it the other way.
It didn't take more than a couple
Frank,
minutes, if that.
Frank, I like how you took the long end of the rope and you were pushing rope through the whole time there.
Hey, man,
That-
good practice, right?
Scott gets it.
Oh,
So does
man.
half the chat.
This-
I got it.
We'll see what happens
Wow.
to the monetization on this stream. But Man,
Just said you were
Nothing bad
pushing
there.
rope. What's wrong with that?
oh man, I had fun building this. It was a good
Chuck, you're old. I'd
build.
expect you to say that.
Now you said the board
Yeah.
wasn't 3D printed.
No,
What?
it's multi-jet fusion.
Multi-jet
Yeah, it's a little
fusion.
different.
What is that?
Stereo.
It's a what they do is it runs a layer of powder, infuses it, and then a layer of powder infuses it. So it's 100% fill. There's no air pockets in that thing.
Right.
That's why it's a
So,
little
like,
stronger, a lot stronger than most.
Yeah, we're
actually.
fans of 3D printing, so we do like all of our prototyping that way. But like 3D printing feels kind of low rent.
For a product.
Yeah.
Well, the multi-jet fusion heat UV, you can leave it laying in your car in the sun and it won't get sad.
The only thing better for the UVs is the which one was it? It was the ASA, but it doesn't. It's not the same quality when you get it though. The actual winder itself. We
Yep.
tried some.
Yep, we had them
And just-
professionally
And Abe
3D
says
printed.
they're out of here.
Well, I did notice that right off the bat. I was like, this doesn't look like a normal 3D print. I thought it was, like you
It's
said, that
not.
additional adaptive printing.
It is considered 3D printing, but it's totally different
Yeah.
than what you're thinking.
Multi-jet fusion.
Mhm.
But I do like the feel of it. It feels sturdy. I pretty much probably can't just bend and break it. I'm not going to do it too hard because I really do like this. And how do you uniquely mounted the B&C connector? Where's my camera? There it is. With this bridge. What do you call this part here? Right here. Oh,
We can barely. We can't even see what
It's called the gusset.
the gusset.
There's a gusset. Yeah. It took a
Yeah, I
long
don't like
time
that
to figure
term,
that out.
gusset.
Yeah. Here, because
Sorry, Abe.
You call them
Normally-
arches.
normally on all these others, they're like right through the frame. And
Well, the problem with putting them right through the frame is that one, they would poke a hole in any heat shrink that you have going around it. And then you couldn't put heat shrink on the one side because you got to connect your cable to it. But that invites damage, right? Like if you even bump that BNC connector the wrong way, you're going to put a dent in it, and then your connections are not going to fit together right. And then if you have the wire on the backside sticking out, you could bump that, and you could weaken your solder job or even disconnect your antenna.
And ours is a nice straight shot from the end of the wire to the end of the coax, or to the beginning of the coax at least, depending on where your radio's at.
Chuck with his finger guns.
So you haven't used it yet, right?
I did use it.
How to work
You
out?
did use it.
I
Good.
did use it. If we want to jump to it, do you want to see what happened when I plugged it
No.
in for the first time?
Is it bad? Is it bad?
I'm not gonna say it's bad, but it's not good.
Let's see it.
Let's go to that video. I think I have the sound turned off, so this is about me about to key up. See what's happening on the radio?
I do see some bouncing around, and I see some birdies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You broke it.
Don't know where that came from. I
You
thought
have to call Yezu about that.
Well, Kyle was streaming today, him and Sterling, and they had that same thing right next to them. They were right between two different pieces of noise, so it was pretty bad.
Now, when I first, since it was a new antenna, I went ahead and disconnected the antenna, put another one up, and it was doing the same thing. So it wasn't the car antenna. I unplugged everything from the whole system, and I was trying to figure out, is it a solar cell? Because I was using 2 solar panels. That didn't seem to do it. I unplugged the power pole USB or power pole hub I had to, because I was running 2 solar panels. I was getting 8 and 9 watts out of it. It was, or amps out of it. It was amazing. And that didn't seem to stop it. And when I unplugged the Buddy Pole 2, I took that out. I plugged the battery straight into the radio. That seemed to do the trick. And when I plugged stuff back in to see where it was coming from, the whole setup was back to normal, and I couldn't
weird.
figure it out. So
Maybe it's a loose plug or something.
it beats me where it really kind of came from. All went away, and then I went ahead and put the antenna back up, and I activated the park with 151 contacts in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Say 2 hours.
What
That
bands
was
were you
good.
using?
Oh, it's just on
Frank,
20.
you're so slow.
What do you mean slow?
Steve did like 1,000 in what, 4 hours, 5 hours?
Oh,
Yeah, 4 hours. 4 hours.
4 hours FT8 the whole time.
You know, Mike and I did
Oh.
no. FT8's actually really slow. Mike and I did a POTA a couple of weeks ago. We did 101 contacts in 30 minutes, 2 operators.
Wow.
And Mike was actually going slow. I wish he would have gone a little bit faster.
Mike was going slow. Ham Radio Wildness with Frank. Hey, that's me. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. You're always welcome. So I will let you be the second Frank. Usually there can only be 2 Franks in the room, but I will let you. I appreciate it. But now, Mike was out operating over the weekend, and I was trying to get contact with him because he was over in Louisiana and make the contact, and I was over here in Cedar Hill. I heard him, but it must have been bat scatter, and it was really, really deep in the noise. He didn't pull me out of his pileup, but he said, I'm going to QRT because I got food, and I was like, well, since you're going to go QRT, I'm just going to call CQ if no one else objects. Wait for it.
I'm gonna steal over your frequency, yeah.
It. No one ejected. Okay, here we go. Tank radio. It was so much fun. Then I worked everybody.
Frank's using those big radio terms like backscatter, man. Frank, you got to take your extra test.
Yeah.
How do you know I'm not an extra yet?
Because that would have been your examiner if you were.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
Probably.
T.O. and I are how they get you.
Yeah. I do the test for all the famous YouTubers. That's the rule.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm
I
like
did
the
not know
third
that.
alternate famous YouTuber examiner now, but I mean, Carlos, AFL Steve,
Well, you guys are the examiners. AOL Steve's the proctor. Is that the?
he's the man.
He's the coordinator, to use the
That's
technical
it.
term
That's
that they do. He's the VEC. We're the VEs.
Right.
So
You too could be a VE.
So I had a question. This is a 9-to-1. How did y'all decide the length of wire would be 49 or 41 feet long? Because I just cut it and I didn't really tune it. It was mostly under 2 or under 3, which I wanted. Knew the 9-to-1's antenna should be under 3. But how did you decide on that magic number?
So there's this vast repository of knowledge that is searchable, that provides all the answers to every question you could ever possibly think to ask. And I just used that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He
Googled
it.
What we wanted to do is combine it with a couple of different things, right? Because one is if we went with like a 72 foot, which is another common length, it puts a lot more wire on the winder. And the other one is that we market the antenna as a 40 through 10 or 40 through 6 portable antenna.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to get really long lengths of wire, the portable stuff comes into question. Like, how easy it is to deploy. And there was a couple of things. And then we also tested the heck out of it because the silicon wire that we use has a higher velocity factor. So velocity factor on a wire is largely determined by the insulator that you have on the outside of the wire, the jacket.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a bunch of stuff, right?
I did a bunch of testing on it, so it worked.
So
I actually have mine linked, so I can do 80 on it if I want to. That one should still tune on 80.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
probably won't be really great.
It was really high on 80. I think 40 was just above 3-to-1 on mine, but I cut mine a little long. I think it ended up being 41 foot 3 inches because I wanted to do that loop back. But I might trim it down a little bit more to try to get it below.
And you mount it as a sloper, I take it?
Yeah.
So the angle of the slope can also impact your SWR readings as well as the height of the transformer above ground. So you can play around with those if you get that. And then also the direction or the orientation of the counterpoise will also make a difference.
So what orientation of the counterpoise should you do it? I did it in line with the antenna. Should you do it at an angle and 90 degrees?
Well, I mean, you put
itself?
it wherever you can fit it, but typically what we would suggest is in line with the antenna going the opposite direction, but that's not always easy for folks.
And that's what I usually do. You can kind of point it to where you want it to go to, or set your antenna up that way to start with.
Mm-hmm.
I want to test that out one day if you can steer it. I'm not I'm not disagreeing with you. I literally want to just try it. 'Cause
I
I want to
think
see how it
Mike
works.
has done that video already where he set up a end-fed half-wave
I think he did.
antenna, and then he just moved the counterpoise around to different directions to see if it changed his directionality.
All
And
this time, I thought he said he didn't use the counterpoise.
Well, it
That's
was on
what I
his
thought.
Mailbag Monday video, so he probably threw one on there just for the heck
It does.
of
The
it.
counterpoise is an element, so to speak. So it will receive on the counterpoise, and it will also radiate on the counterpoise. That's why, at least me, am so militant around putting a choke right at the antenna feed point and not using the coaxial cable like many experts tell you can do. Because then your coaxial cable becomes part of your antenna system.
Mhm.
Well, it's part of your antenna system, becomes part of your element, and it's not a good idea.
Oh yeah, did you put a choke on it at all? Frank?
No, I did not have a choke on my feed line
Shame.
because, well, I have the counterpoise going on now, so I
Yeah,
don't
you
need a
still
choke.
get you
You
still
still
good
want to
idea.
put a choke on that antenna for sure.
Oh, well then. It doesn't go
At the
nicely
antenna.
on my feed line roll up in the bag. It got to go through it.
Just
Well,
get
Well,
the
it'll go nicely when you touch it at the wrong time.
so RF will travel on the path of least resistance, right? And
Indeed.
so that means that it can go down your coaxial shield,
Mm-hmm.
even with a counterpoise.
Interesting. All right, I will definitely look into that. I wonder if there's a way I can measure it. I know there is a way. I just don't know how to do it.
Oh, Douglas V with the hard hitting questions, Frank.
Oh, what is it?
He says a while back, maybe he's talking to a different Frank. I don't know. He says a while back you were talking about starting to work out. How's that working out? That working
Oh.
out? Is it working out?
No. I'm
No.
hoping it's the other
No.
Frank.
He's
Must be
asking
the
the
other
other
Frank.
Frank, I think.
I'm hoping
It's
the
ham
other
radio
Frank.
wilderness, Frank.
Yeah. Now, how did y'all decide to make the 9-to-1 random wire antenna? What was that process? Because y'all have several
just-
different antennas.
It was just the next thing in line. We're trying to do, if you get all the antennas, by the time you get done, you've built you've wrapped almost most of the toroids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there should be no
um,
fear anymore.
The idea is that folks learn as they go. So you can decide what antenna you want to mess with, and then you learn about building it, you learn about mounting it, using it, how it radiates, learn about propagation and all that. And I don't think our long-term goal is to sell people every single antenna. It's to teach people how to build their own, right? And
Right.
what we want to do is we want to put kids together to help people along that journey, because the act of building your own antenna the first time around is intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to have one that has large community support where folks can come and ask questions and all that kind of stuff, and not get ham shamed like they would over on QRZ.
Right.
Wait a second now. I believe I was ham shamed.
Well,
Jim, that's different.
It's
That's
different.
Yeah, that's very different. Yeah.
It was my first antenna.
There's a reason that I built his last
Your
one.
cherry antenna?
Oh,
Yeah, my first when I did the Artemis, the pre-Apollo antenna.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Well,
other
we
thing
can't-
is that we
can't
make
have
these
Jim
really-
showing a really messed up looking one.
And Ape's like, "What the hell
Right.
is that, son? How did you screw that up?"
The
Are
other
you
the other
drinking?"
thing
Go ahead.
Frank, is that we make these kits affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to make antennas. There's a lot of different ways to do things. And one of the things that I was told, and I was talking about this at the Hamfest over this past weekend, I was told that 9-to-1s are really noisy, and you don't want a 9-to-1, and why would you want that crappy antenna? And there's a lot of grumpy old hams, sad hams as they've been called, that just poo-poo everything that you try to do to explore and have fun in the hobby that they did themselves 40-50 years ago.
Right.
And I put up a 9-to-1 antenna, and it was great. It worked. I hit the tuner button, it tuned, I made contacts. I mean, depending on how you install any antenna, it's going to be noisy, but that's not the important part. The important part is, can I get on the air? Can I make contacts? Does it fit the mission that I have for that day? And am I having fun? That's what it really comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what's awesome about it is that we get a lot of folks who are like, I've never built an antenna before. I built this one. It turned out great. Part of that's the quality of components that we put in there, and
Right.
and they're like, it worked. It worked fantastic. I mean, we get emails all the time from folks telling us that they made more contacts than they had on any other outing that they've done and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
it's pretty cool and encouraging to hear that. And then it spawns
And-
conversation around, well, what if I did this? Could I do that? And it just helps folks learn and grow along that path.
and we don't sell ours as a set it up at your house antenna, but somebody at Huntsville told me, he goes, I've had mine up for over a year and it looks the same as it did the day I put it out. So,
Yeah,
I think it was
had the-
Don.
I had the NFED up forever outside.
yeah.
Yeah, part of that is we tell people that in case something happens to it while it's
Right.
outside. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like we don't
It's
want to
not
have
designed to be outside, but at its price, go ahead, do it.
we don't want to have to warranty everything that
Mhm.
somebody chooses to do that might not be a recommended activity, but they're pretty damn durable and they're pretty forgiving.
Here's
And the
a
other
question
reason
from
for-
the chat here. Why a random wire antenna?
Well, so
That's
that's a
just what
good
they call it.
question. And the
Thank you, Lee.
reason why, in my mind, is because it's a shorter antenna.
Right.
You know, an end-fed half wave is almost 65 feet, and a random wire is, whatever length you make it. But 25, 30 feet of random wire is actually going to get you a decent on-air experience. And how much wire do we sell with ours, Chuck?
We do 41 foot for the
Yeah.
Yeah.
we have way more wire. They're about that, and that was one of the reasons. It's about 24 feet, 23 feet shorter than our half wave. So people that do sodas and stuff, sometimes the 65, 64, 63, 64 feet's a long antenna on the top of a soda.
Mm-hmm.
So they might
That's what I
prefer
kind of like. That
the 9 to
41
1.
foot, I can get onto 40 without having 20, or I don't know the number offhand of feet of wire, and that's why I made the end-fed halfway length dipole. So when I don't feel like playing on 40 meters, I don't put that additional 30 feet foot section up because it's already 30 feet long. You have to.
Yeah, but when we sell our end-fed half wave, it's good to 40. Not like some people sell them and you have to buy extra wire. Ours just includes everything.
Well,
It's more wire than you need.
Well, I cut mine for
think that's
10
crazy.
meters, 17,
Right.
20 and 40, and I know there's harmonics, and I only have 3 links. I don't remember where they are offhand. I have to look up the numbers.
Well, 40 and 15 you get if you do 40, so you get 15.
Yeah, that's probably where I got it. But I did that so I can make sure I had a 20 linked end-fed halfway because I play on 20 most of the time, and I just throw out that extra water everywhere. No.
Was that a dog
yeah.
yelping? What
And there was
that?
a
Sounded
buzzing
hear
like
the
a
too.
You can hear the
chihuahua or
buzz.
something.
Wow.
And the stream ended.
No.
Just kidding.
You
No.
didn't sort anything out important, did you?
Well,
I
right,
can't hear you now, Frank.
right on my keyboard.
What? Frank, are you? Turn
you
your
talking,
mic on,
Frank?
son.
Jeff's
Here,
asking
Scott, take the string.
some questions. He said, "Isn't a random wire get more bands with a tuner?" It does. And
It
so
does,
that's the other thing is generally the idea behind a random wire is that you don't want the wire length to be resonant on any ham frequency or a multiple thereof. So there is a, like Tio was mentioning, there's a published list of
All
lengths
over,
to start with. Yeah. And we ended up settling on the 41. I actually use, I think you use 51 and I use 35 and a half feet mostly. But I'll use 41 too. It just whatever you want to do and whatever works for you and the area that you're going to mount it in, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I used the 35 and a half one just because the wire length in it works pretty well. Now it's on a tuner, but
Well, I've always kind of been a fan of the resident antennas because I don't really want to carry a tuner out with me. Yeah, the 7300 has one and blah, blah, blah. But the only setup I have, or actually have an external tuner, is my Go Box, my 891. But because all my antennas, whether I'm using the DX Commander or one of the plethora of end-fed half waves that I've got, don't really require it. It just, it seems to be a lot easier for me to set up and get going as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and that's why we have the Apollo, which is the end-fed half wave, which is resonant on a bunch of frequencies.
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah,
thanks.
we actually love that antenna. Mine's actually set up. I have a trap about at the 20 meter mark, so it's short and 40. So the overall length is 41 feet, 42 feet, somewhere right around in there. And I just love it. But the trap does add some extra bulk and weight to it.
So
And
is there,
is
on your
asking-
pole too.
Is
Unfortunately,
there any
Ken is
chance
asking a
that-
question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
Ken is asking a question in the chat about a good random wire length for 30, 40, 80. Yes.
So one of the challenges, though, is that the RF behaves differently at different frequencies. And so Chuck and I are always arguing about it. because he's like, I tuned 80 on it. And I'm like, you're not supposed to tune 80 on it, son.
I can talk on it too.
If you
the
tune it hard enough,
toroid that we use will work on 80, but it's not the ideal toroid for 80. So maybe one day we'll build a, top band 160 and 80.
Well, that's one of my camp outs one of these times when I'm out doing something. And the night, 80 is more of your night band. I'm going to add my extra, I think it's the 70, whatever the 70 length was. And it actually cut down some of my other bands. I think it's 71 feet is the what I have it cut for. So I'm going to try 80 on that just to get the extra wire in the air to see if it works.
Oh.
But it may not be perfect, but at least you can make contacts,
right?
I
I want a 160 meter antenna.
The next question I was about to ask here was,
I think Scott was ahead of you, Frank. So,
Yes.
who designs these antennas and decides the toroids, the wraps, what type of wire?
Well, most of all, we're not inventing anything other than the only thing we invented was our winder, which we think is one of the best on the market. And our winder works for all of our antennas so far.
Awesome. Yeah, and when we designed the winder, that was the design concept, is to make it multi-platform capable. We just mix ingredients, right? Like Chuck's saying, all the stuff that we do, other antenna manufacturers and designers have put together, and then we just take the components that work for us and we kind of put them together, come up with a design, test the core and how it's going to behave in different environments and different use cases, and then Chuck goes out, and Chuck is really like our manufacturing guy, where he figures out the best way to assemble the components, put them together, and then does most of the field testing.
Yep.
Well, up until recently, I had the best weather because Portillo had like 2 weeks a year that he could do stuff.
Yeah,
maybe 2 months, maybe
tough.
a month.
I'm
I expect more out of him
walking
now.
through 3 feet of snow.
That's all changed now, right?
It is. It is.
I expect more now.
I can barbecue down here 12 months out of the year.
12 years out of the month.
Oh, I still barbecued every day of the year in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I do.
The grill still works at minus 35. Yeah,
that's hardcore, son.
So when I was building this antenna, I'm coming back. I'm recovering. The instructions themselves.
You get a paper towel fund there too. You might want to talk to Jason about that before you.
Thank you, Jason.
Cyberman.
I'm actually out of paper towels right now.
Oh boy, you need one of those sham wow.
Hey Frank, if you want to take a break and go handle that, we can cover the stream for you. We've done a couple of streams before.
I'm recovered here.
Go wipe, Frank. Go wipe.
The instructions themselves were pretty easy. I do like the parts list right at the top. That was beautiful. Easy to make sure you had everything before you start, because the last thing you want to have is a piece missing when you need it. Everyone's saying you need Coffee and Ham radio tumblers.
Yes, you do.
I have a tank radio tumbler. What?
That's not a tumbler.
Yeah, that's almost as cool.
That is a whiskey tumbler.
Son, that's not a tumbler.
Spillage cost, man. I hope this keyboard lasts tonight. That's all I'm going to say.
That's a tumbler.
Oh,
there you go.
Y'all are awesome. I appreciate it.
We ain't sending it to you.
I'm talking to the chat.
Lee did.
Yeah, Lee.
So you gotta pay like everybody else, Frank.
I mean, Frank, you're cool and everything, but you ain't that big time.
This ain't a soup kitchen, son.
The only thing I had issue with here is I talked to a couple of y'all. I think T.O. I called you, and Chuck, I got you on the horn. I was talking about this toroid. Yeah, my mouse is on the screen. I got confused by the wording in the description here by what to do with the wires after you wrap them. And a little bit down here, it keeps saying upper and lower, and I did not really know what in reference to. I was thinking off the bat, it was the upper wires and lower wires of the toroid, which I'm going to try to... Where's my camera?
Well, Frank, one thing I'm going to tell you, buddy, and I'm telling you with love, you got the order of the wires mixed up when you're building.
If that didn't
you're not the first person to tell me that.
With love.
Oh, one of my cameras is frozen now. Oh well, The
So when
desktop camera.
I heard it worked, I was like, "Whew."
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. I don't know how that happened. The red wire. I'm scared to plug this camera back in.
Stream might
Know
end
what?
early, folks.
There it is.
If
I'm
we
not
lose you
going to plug it
guys,
back in.
you know why. I think
Yoink.
most of your confusion came with the being out of order and then reading the instructions, because
Yeah.
that kind of would throw you totally off. It doesn't. I mean, they don't have to be in a special order,
Mhm.
but you have to actually equate the order to the list.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I had the red wire in the middle. Your
Right.
instructions had the red wire on the outside of the wrap. My confusion was the wires on top or bottom of the Toroid. I was trying to do upper and lower, but the upper and lower refers, and I said it in the build video, to the upper and lower wires on the diagram. But that was the only part I was kind of confused about. Other than that, man, they were straightforward. There was inside jokes and humors in it, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And the last
Mike
part,
Somebody
didn't like
actually
that part.
stole our diagram that we
no,
put together.
they?
Yeah, and they put their own logo in the middle of it.
oh,
So
You know
I
what
was
you guys
tempted.
need to do with your instructions? You have a little picture of a 6-pack on each section and have one
Where's the
missing, so you know how many beers in you should be by the time you get to that part of the build instructions.
oh, that would
Yeah,
be
bad idea.
I never
awesome.
thought of that.
That would be so awesome.
I guess it'd
Be
have to be
funny.
Miller Lights, right?
If it ain't PBR, it ain't real beer.
How many cases of Miller Lite are you in at this
That's how
point?
many
Yeah.
gold
that's right.
medals. That's how many gold medals you had.
They won those in like 1895. I mean,
You still won them.
So, Frank, did you try other bands or just 20?
that ship
I
sailed.
tuned to other bands with the Rig Stick 2030 and just checked the resonance on it. Mostly though, once I had to pile up on 20, I stayed there for the next 2 hours. I didn't want to
Yeah.
let that go. But it was literally a constant pile up for 2 hours. It was awesome, and
Any of my portable antennas have to be 20 because 40 is not that great especially for POTA for here.
real fast. Thank you for everyone who contributed to a paper towel fund. James, Don, and Lee. Y'all are awesome. Ken, I saw your question about the hoodies. There should be coming up. I'm hoping late October. More Tank
Is
Radio
that when we're
hoodies on
getting
the
our
way.
hoodies out? We get our hoodies out in October?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
your hoodies.
my hoodies.
Oh, your hoodies. Oh, okay.
He says his girlfriend stole his hoodie and refused to give it back because it was so comfortable. So he needs another one.
So, do we know anybody who's ever gotten a kilo in one day?
Kilo in one day.
Ooh, I could do that
Well, you live in the park.
sometimes.
MRD hasn't.
No,
I don't think
But
so.
you know, there's like meal breaks, and then there's marriage, and then there's other things you have to take into account.
Right.
Oh, I think KRD talked about it at one point, but
What we've all talked about. It's kind of like a goal. It's a little goal I've set for myself at some point.
My record so far is 4 days.
Well,
4
I
days?
mean, the thing is that even if you're running 100 an hour, and people are like, I've done 100 an hour before, no problem. But
Mhm.
to
It's
hold
10
that,
hours.
right for 10 hours is
Right.
a lot of. I don't think people understand that part of the equation.
well,
Would not be easy, right?
you
That's
could
where it
set
gets to be
up
tough.
multiple radios and do FT8 or FT4
And
while you're doing
and a catheter.
sideband.
Right, you
And
need a catheter and all that other stuff,
IV drip.
why that?
or just a good sized jug.
I'd say do it in the pool. Have a pool set up, have a table across it, and you just lean back and da-da-da. Swim up bar. Yeah. That's how you
Frank's
do
saying
it
he
at the
wants to
swim
have a
up bar.
pool so that he doesn't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, there
if you
it
have
all
a
adds
pool,
up.
don't invite Frank over. That's a
Right,
lesson
note.
learned for the show.
I'm making a note right now.
Yeah.
No Frank in the pool.
No Frank in the pool.
So let me ask you all a question. I was going to try to ask this earlier. Is there a possible future of a car hex?
Well, that's probably a Chuck question.
Chuck
but
built a hex beam. I've seen it.
I know he built
We've
a hex
got-
beam and watched
we've
this video
got-
a lot of times.
3 more
It's-
antennas in the queue. 2 of them have been announced.
Yeah.
Um,
It's doable, but I'm gonna have to have a place to do it, or
Give me a logistics nightmare, but yeah.
yeah,
Well, the other
is.
part of it that's tough is that so we some people say, "Oh my God, that kit's so expensive." It's really the frame that we use that drives the price up pretty high. But the thing is that because of it is priced at an affordable rate, we get a lot of people who buy them for their first builds, which is awesome. It's exactly what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But we get a lot of questions. I mean, a lot of questions, right? And wiring antennas are some of the easier entry points in. One of the things that we are worried about is we saw a hex beam. You know, what's the support going to look like? Because we all have, except for Chuck, who's retired, day jobs, right?
Is
And
he
so
retired? I
that
think he keeps building Yurkas.
he
That's
does.
my
look-
side work. Yeah,
Yurkas?
I just did it. Well, I was afraid I was doing it today. Tell you the truth, I was trying not
And
to.
it probably wouldn't help, but I mean, if you were going to go and put one of those into production, I would definitely plaster all over the page. This is not a beginner antenna. If you buy this as your first antenna, you are an idiot.
Well, I got to
You're
tell
on
you,
your own.
Well,
we love everybody equally, but people don't read. You know,
They don't.
God,
because we
to
have
let me
put
ask
stuff
you-
on before.
be
that
honest,
folks didn't read.
the hex is not that difficult to do. It's just a lot of ancillary work with building the mass and getting the elements on there right. It's not a lot of soldering job to it. It's a bunch of screws and putting in the screws and the wires in the right order.
I think the question might be, well, for me, are you talking a kit antenna or are you talking about a pre-built antenna?
You would not want this as a kit antenna. Then you'd have a whole bunch of nightmare support issues.
Right.
You have
So
pre-built.
where Frank's talking, it's a matter of just setting it up. And I understand. I know Buddy Hex has you set theirs underneath. I never do that, but I know why they do that, because it's easier than stringing wire over the top of all those, 6 poles. I don't do it that way, but I could. And it's just a matter of all the part. There's a lot of parts to it.
It'd
And
probably be a kit, to be honest with you. And then, I mean, look at the DX Commander. We know people, no offense to any of these folks who buy them and don't put them together, right? Because
Who would that be?
Oh, I'm gonna hide now.
but the thing is that cutting all those wires and getting the SWR right when you have so many things in the near field is a challenge, right? And that's where we think that we would. I mean, obviously, we would say these are the lengths that we used, but everybody's environment's a little bit different.
And there's already the links out there, but different wire makes it different. Also, like we're talking about the velocity factor of our wire. I built mine and everything's a little bit long because I built it to the hex beam specs, and now I need. But it was usable, but it was longer than I would want it. And I
Yeah,
just
you
got
guys
to take
voted
it
for the
out and
Moxon.
redone it.
They voted for the Moxon, is what I thought.
So
My biggest problem with doing.
Well, I'll show you that one here. Hang on.
Scott, what'd you say?
I was going to say my only issue with the DIY of building my own hex beam has been trying. A lot of people are like, oh, you go down to eBay, get these little fishing pole things, and 5 years ago you could pick up a 6-pack of those fishing poles for like $30.
Right.
Now they're $30 a piece.
Right.
Well, and you don't want to use those. There's a reason, and I found that out. I tell you what, I built my first one with the fishing
Carbon
poles.
fiber.
No, not carbon fiber. Well, that didn't matter on that antenna. It's way more stable than like the Buddy Hex setup and the one I built, which is virtually the kind of the same thing. Like tent poles, they're not as sturdy as the fishing poles, but the fishing poles, you have to put all those parts to hold all the wires on every time you go out,
Right.
because otherwise it won't collapse down,
Yeah.
right? Unless you can leave them full length. So after the first time, I'm like, he goes, when are you going to get that thing set up? And I'm like, well, it takes a little time. I'm doing it by myself here, guy, And then he's telling me, oh, well, the Buddy Hex would never line up like that. I go, well, this is like the first time I've set it up since I built it, dude. Sorry. But my new one's perfect. I mean, but I went to the tent poles because it's a better setup for, if you're going to set it up one time, I wouldn't mess around with the tent poles or the fishing boat. I buy the ones that they sell. There's a place down in, I think it's in Texas that sells them. I would buy those if I was going to set it up at my house.
I really want a permanent hex beam in my backyard.
Well, then you don't want to do it like a portable one. This is our
Yeah.
Moxon kit we're doing. I don't know if you guys.
Permanent,
can
you're going to
start
spend
this.
some money on.
Was that vote the last stream I listened to, y'all? We were talking about
It was about a
turning-
month ago.
Oh,
Very nice.
It
Yeah.
might have been the last one you listened to, Frank. Yeah.
Yeah, might have been. We're gonna do this as a kit because it's 2 wires basically. It's basically the same thing as a hex beam, it's just shaped different. They're basically the same kind of antenna. They're full length, which is good, except they're bent. I actually like, if you're gonna set something up portable, I like the Moxon, tell you the truth, and just usually one band, maybe two. It's hard. The thing with the Moxon's hard to do multiple bands. I haven't tried it yet. I think you can do it, but I haven't tried it.
That's a 2-meter antenna.
This one's a 2 meter for,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use it this way, or you can use it this way.
Hmm.
This is for FM, SSB this way.
Why is single sideband on 2 meters horizontal and not vertical?
Just that's the way it goes.
I mean, the
it's
short
just
answer
people
is
do it.
because it
The
is.
thing
you know.
is if you can probably do it vertical, but most people will be horizontal, and it's going to lower your signal to them. It happens. I join a net and guys are on vertical sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but they're way lower than everybody else usually. And most verticals, you don't really. I mean, yeah, that in a vertical, you do have 2 elements.
When you're looking at for it to be available, are you still RDing it? The Moxon.
I have to go in and it's made to go on a painter's pole,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got the threads pretty about right. I just need to put the threads in that actual mold. The one I have right there works, but it's not. I did some sanding on it to make it fit better, and I don't want people to have to do that.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out if we're going to do that as an actual 3D print with like ASA, or if we're going to do the nylon. The nylon for that print would make that antenna expensive.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
also
problem.
doesn't
We're trying to
nylon
keep it low.
not weather well? It'll be sun beaten and it gets
The
brittle.
weather's fantastic.
Oh, really?
Nylon.
That's what
weather's
yours is made out
fantastic,
of,
the nylon.
Frank.
Okay, I had that backwards. I'm not a big 3D printing guy, but I thought nylon did break down.
The other thing we're talking about is whether we're going to do this piece because we have to have it printed also,
Mm-hmm.
or Ape has a thing that you can just attach it with also. So I like this, but it's another part we'd have to have printed. That's a bad thing.
We were looking at these as potentially the connector for that.
Oh, what is that? It's a BNC.
It's a BNC connector that you just use screw down terminals to connect your wires in.
Oh, nice.
Which would make it pretty easy actually.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest part with
that.
the ones I made were they're a little tight if you don't get them the right way
Mm-hmm.
for getting everything tightened up good. I actually think it would have been easier just to solder them personally. But
Awesome.
and it works good. I tried it out a couple of times now. I was up on a soda with Javi, and I mean, guys are like 60 over back to me because of where I'm at more than anything else. But I'm on 6,000 feet shooting into the Sacramento Valley, going hundreds of miles, you know.
James is asking what the Hannibal is asking what the front to back ratio is, Chuck.
I want to say 23 to 26 or something like that. It's actually better than most Yagis. The hex beam and the Moxon are both actually better. I forget exactly. It's about 6 dB gain, I think, somewhere to 5 or 6.
Yeah, so if you're feeding like 25 watts into that thing, you're getting about 100 out. So that's the magic of directionality.
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
So their antennas are available right now. I'll go ahead. I think I have that link already pinned to the chat.
Yeah, can you fix that link there, Frank?
Oh, it's not a good one?
Without mansplaining internet crap, just change it to coffeeandhamradios.com.
I use coffeeandhamradios.com.
Yep.
All right.
We pay a princely sum for that domain. We want you all to use it, so we're validated. All one word, Frank. No dashes.
It's like I'm playing cards with my brother's kids here.
I know. He's going to check it.
I'm doing it so I don't misspell it like that.
Coffee, 2 F's, 2 E's.
There's 2 F's. There's 2 E's.
Yes.
And
I can't read that tiny screen.
No dash. No dash.
No dashes. Google for the win. That keeps going to that domain.
Yes, it will, but it's an internet thing. www.coffeeandhamradios.com.
Scott's got you.
There it is, Scott. Thank you, Scott. But
I go through that problem with me and Jim all the time because it
it
didn't work
check.
right. It was
how did it? But
www.org.
so
there
yeah.
it is. There it is.
What was our other antenna is it's something totally different, but it still works off of our winder, so that's cool. I don't know if we're really talking about it or not. Watch my video I just did. I don't say anything about it, but that's what I was.
Did you post it, Frank? I mean, Chuck.
My video?
Yeah.
The video I was talking about today is a different video, but yeah, that soda that I did the other day was kind of our new experimental antenna. Got to use it a few times.
So
that was
all these are in stock right now.
Yes.
What?
Oh yeah. We were out of stock for about 2 weeks.
Awesome.
We just got about three miles of wire.
Right.
We did.
Wow.
25,000 feet. What is it, Chuck?
That's 5 miles.
I think it was at least that.
So your
Yeah,
other
a lot.
antenna you got here is the Mercury. It's the linked dipole.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have instructions on how to cut those to the elements you want or bands you
We
want?
do.
Sweet.
I give you measurements that are pretty dang close.
And
And
what's
if Chuck gives you measurements, they're pretty much on the money.
The difference would be the land you're putting it over more than anything else.
Right.
And,
Yep.
and make sure you don't set it up, and make sure you set it up right. Watch my
And
video.
the angle of the elements, right?
Yeah.
and
Right,
what's
right.
the difference between the Apollo and Mercury? Is it pretty much the same thing? This the linked you get connectors?
Well, the Apollo's the end-fed, Frank.
hmm
Well,
The Mercury's the linked dipole.
oh, it's a complete linked
Right, Scott?
dipole.
Completely different.
I thought it was an actual linked and fed dipole. But,
No,
okay.
it's just,
no.
A full
it's just an
dipole.
end-fed. Yeah, the
It's a real
Mercury's
dipole.
a linked dipole.
You don't have to link it. You can build it one piece if you want to, whatever
Right.
you want to do. You can make it any
Cool.
band you want between 40 and down.
All $80. You got affiliate program?
Not at this point, Frank.
We don't have the big buying power that the big companies have, you know.
Right.
If everybody buys one through your affiliate link, Frank, they'll give you a shout out on the next show.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
There you
We
go.
will totally
Shout out.
give
There
you
you
all
go.
the exposure you need. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I'll tell you
actually
what.
talked to a
take
large
that to
company
the bank.
that was gonna sell them for us. We'll let them go nameless because we are friendly with them.
Mhm.
But they wanted us to mark them up significantly
With
so they
us.
could get a pretty healthy taste. And
Mm.
we just like, we
Yeah,
don't
let's
want to
do our
do.
own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kit was fun. It was easy to do. I did it. I
That
screwed
is-
it up so many
To tell you
times.
the truth, Frank, to tell you the truth, that is one of the harder ones to do, I think,
Really?
Nine
because
to
of the
one?
way you have to hook the wires
Yeah,
up.
9-1.
The
Well,
91's a little harder.
yeah,
So you're set now. You can do them all.
but it was pretty easy to do. I did it.
Yeah, it's
And
not
it
hard.
works.
It's just you have to pay attention. That's
Mhm.
the thing.
Frank, you
Oh,
did
man,
it
you
before
said-
Jason built the DX Commander. I mean, right there, son. That is
Didn't have it
I
near
lo-
as long
love it.
either.
right. It hasn't sat in your garage for the last
You've only
4
had that
years.
since Dayton, man.
Awesome. Well, all right, we're kind of coming up to the end of the stream here. So let me go ahead and give y'all a chance to just shout out anything that y'all have been working on and take over for a minute. Let's start with the bottom of the screen here. Steve, man, what do you got going on and where we can find more about you?
Steve.
T.O.
Eh,
I guess his
froze.
satellite just
He
crapped
froze.
out.
I don't
Yeah.
know. My internet's just started out.
Perfect. We'll come back to you. Ape,
Should
what's your call sign and
Be
where can we
back
find
now.
you?
You can find me on
Awesome.
Only Hams. So I
Mhm.
just put a new photo shoot up. So if you wanted to check that out, it was pretty exciting stuff.
Pretty exciting one.
But no, I'm on the internet. Pretty easy to find, and not working on anything in particular. So
Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. You're
thanks
awesome.
thanks for having me. Enjoyed it. This is the fastest hour I spent all day. So I appreciate it.
Perfect. I loved it. I was not here for 10 minutes of it while I was messing with my keyboard. Thanks, man. Chuck, man, where we can find more about you.
I'm Chuck, KK6 USY Ham Radio Adventures. I've got a video coming out in the next day or so on the Zygu VG4 multi-band vertical, and that one has a little hard time adjusting 40, and I cracked the code, because I think the code was actually in the instructions. It just wasn't written out very well. So that'll be my next video.
Cool.
And if you want to kind of see what's coming around, maybe watch my last video, the soda I did.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Love it. Love it. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Jim, where we can find more about you and anything you do.
What was that echo? That was weird.
I think
I
it's
heard
coming from
somebody's-
Steve.
Somebody's talking.
No?
Hmm.
Jim, you got the
Email.
floor.
FEPLabs radio YouTube channel, whatever's interesting to me that week. Last week we did Smart SDR for Windows, and I think the next video is probably going to be Smart SDR on the Mac.
Sweet. Sweet. Thank you. You're awesome.
Or an
Steve,
oscilloscope or something. Who knows?
I need to learn more about oscilloscopes. That's
too.
something
We all
I
do.
want to dive
We
into.
all do.
Steve, man, you're back. Where we can find more about you and anything you do, man.
Yeah, temporarily offline ham video on the YouTubes, and this week I am doing I'm setting up antennas video.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Scott, my man, taking it over when I destroyed the world at my place here.
Your
Um,
co-host in crime, right?
Yep. Where we can find more about you and what's coming up on your channels.
Well, my name is Scott. My call sign is KI5MPL. You can find me at hamradiofornontechies.com, one of the best websites out there for beginners getting into ham radio, as well as find me on my YouTube channel. And I'm also on Rumble, Odyssey, Twitter, Facebook, and Discord. So I'm everywhere.
Doing it right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank y'all. Y'all have been amazing. Hang out for a bit here. There's the camera that's froze. It still think it's active when it's unplugged. That's not good.
Look at that bird nest of wire.
Yeah. Well, I'm Frank Tank Radio. I have a special announcement. Thank y'all for making it to the end of the stream here. I'm getting up there close to 4,000 subscribers. I am going to do a 4,000 subscriber giveaway, and we're just going to hang out and have fun. And in order to get that triggered, I need 4,000 subscribers. So go ahead if you haven't done that already.
Trigger warning.
Yep. Go ahead and hit that subscribe
He's
button.
warning you guys right now what's going to happen.
Y'all are still hot.
I know.
Huh?
I
Good.
usually don't ask y'all to hit that like and subscribe and all that YouTube amazingness, but hey, let's get up there. Let's get 4,000. That's awesome. The hoodies are going to be coming back at the end of October, I think. I'm hoping maybe sooner, but we'll see. Let me do the rundown here real fast. TC Fits at the top of the live stream, man. Thank you for the $20 super chat. You are amazing. I appreciate it. Ham Radio Wilderness with Frank. Thank you for your super chat. Ken, need to get the hoodies back on sale. Sorry your girlfriend stole yours, but they are comfortable. I already started wearing mine today. To the Paper Towel Fund, James, Lee, Ham Radio with Fun, and Don, and Traveling Ham, and Jason. Y'all are all awesome. And to all my subscribers and Patreons, I appreciate your support for the channel. Gigaparts, select items, Tank at checkout, you get 5% off, and it helps support me, Tank Radio. And if I'll get some more sales going on, I can start peeking at what y'all are buying over there, and we can get some more awesome kit ideas or see what cool equipment that we need to be looking at. And my audio podcast. Thank you all for listening. My audio podcast twice.
You got a card in every pocket.
Yeah, no. My audio podcast released
It's like a used
every
car
week,
salesman.
and 2 podcasts out there are not released on YouTube. They are fun and they're amazing. Thank y'all for watching. You're amazing. I'm going to be rolling over to Jason's stream where we're talking about something. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet, but we're going to have some fun. That's it. Thank y'all for watching, and go forth and conquer. Say bye.
Bye.
Later,
Thanks
everybody.
again.
Everybody.
Bye. See y'all.
Nope, not end yet. Credit roll. Yeah.
Is this the awkward time?
A quick
Are we
shout
off?
out to all my Patrons who makes the show.
That beats me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I would say Jason's show ought to be about how to build a DX Commander, but apparently you guys can't figure that out.
Right.
You
I
need a
got my
group build. You
ticket
need
in
a pair of
29.
pliers and a soldering iron.
Or group
I
build
got-
means Mike comes over and puts it together for him.
Right. I got my
While
ticket in
he narrates, right?
2019.
He narrates the whole thing.
2019, and Jason was bitching about